This is my face. It is also my brush. What shall we paint today? Well, my face, of course. So let's get to it and see what we figure out along the way. The rules for this challenge are: I'm only allowed to use this brush, I am allowed to modify this brush, but I am not allowed to change the gap or the spacing between my faces here. Nor am I allowed to use any sort of blending feature, which means this option's out of the question. Let's get started. And now, immediately, we have our first tech. This one I already known for a while, and this is a tech that I use constantly actually, is that every brush, when made small enough, is a good sketching brush. Now I take advantage of this all the time. My default sketching brush these days is actually just the airbrush, just set really small and with the blend mode set to multiply. And so we make this brush really small and voila, we have a sketch done in no time. Now that we have the sketch, we're gonna put, a rough yellow background because yellow's my favorite color, and proceed to block in the rest of the colors. It looks really weird right now, but hey, that's what we signed up for today, right? Now I do not want to just leave it like this. The whole point of a challenge is to see, how far we can go, right? So let's keep going. But how am I going to blend these colors in a painting? And here comes tech number 2, baby. Tech number 2. Any brush, when the opacity is set low enough, is a good soft/blending brush. So we begin by setting the opacity to maybe about halfway, maybe to a third of the way, who knows, who cares. And I'm gonna start blending out all of these colors. Now you might notice a lot of gray in the brush strokes I'm putting down. Now this is because I just made the brush wrongly. We will fix that later. But for now, it's causing me a lot of issues. That mistake in the brush is making all the colors I put down eventually move towards middle gray, towards a very muddy color. And that's because I'm doing the typical digital artist thing of sampling the colors on the canvas, and then painting with said color. However, every time I sample, a little bit of the gray gets added in, and it's having a very noticeable effect. I am also finding myself unable to get the brightest colors or the darkest colors because, again, it's grayed out. So I'm constantly having to pick colors that are a little bit brighter and a little bit darker and still not getting the results I want. So here comes tech number 3. Blending modes on brushes. Since I cannot put down the colors I need, we're gonna use blending modes to eventually arrive at those colors. Now comparing how it is right now versus the block-in, it's immediately obvious that we really lost the brightest spots. So we're gonna put a brush to color dodge, set it to an orange reddish hue that's closer to black, and use that to slowly brighten up our piece over time. Now it is at this point where I start up my Twitch stream. And Mikan, or Aloha Mikan, fellow artist and content creator, tells me how dumb I am. So, what was the issue? Let me explain. Let's say you have an image, and you like to make an image into a brush. In Clip Studio, how you do it is you go to Edit, Register Material, Image, and then you would generally set the layer you're on as the material. However, if you do that, this is what happens. What you get essentially is a color stamp of your image, which, ain't great. Now how do we get the brush to follow our color? Well, it'll need to be converted to grayscale, aka an image without color. In Clip Studio, you can go to Layer Property and set the expression color of the layer to gray. You can also set the whole canvas to gray. I'm not sure whether that's necessary or not, but I do it anyway. And that's it. You have a brush with your texture that follows the color you've picked. But, we're getting that gray issue again. How do we solve this? Well, we'll need to dive deeper. Now this texture that we've used for our brush tip, it's in grayscale, aka it's made out of pixels who have an RGB value that corresponds to that level of gray. Here's a scale showing all the possible colors. But notice that at the opposite ends of those scales, there are two different colors in there. So when you make a brush using this grayscale image, what's gonna happen is Clip Studio will substitute the black part with your main color, and for the white part, it will be replaced with your sub color. Honestly, does anybody ever use the sub color? I've never had to use it. But anyway. Now, notice the sub color I had this entire time. You agree because of your sub color? Wait, it counts the sub color? You gotta be shitting me. Okay. Let's test this out. This is the primary color, like this. Okay. That's how it looks then. Then if I change this to like blue or something. Oh my god, you're right. Holy shit, why does it use the sub color? Oh my god. Yep, and that's why I was getting grey, muddy colors. So, how do we fix it? Well, the answer is just to have the material as a single color, black of course, but have the black be at varying opacities to represent the different levels of brightness. Now you might ask, how the heck do you do this? Well, Clip Studio thankfully has just a one button solution to this. Under edit there is this convert brightness to opacity function here. So we re-register a new material, fix our brush, and we keep going. Now at some point, I find another reason why the brush is annoying to blend with, and that's because the image is stamped in the same orientation every single time. So it leads to things like this here at the edge, where, you know, the top of my head creates little bumps along the edges. So to fix that, here's tech number 4. Under the angle options, there is a random feature. If you set it to max, Clip Studio will just set the orientation randomly every single time for you. And with that, this challenge really stops being a challenge. And I work on it until the moment I end my stream. Here's the final image. It came out a lot better than I thought it would be, to be honest. One thing that you might have noticed I didn't use at all was pen pressure. There wasn't really any part of the rules I set for myself that said I couldn't use pen pressure, but I ended up not using it anyways and actually ended up really liking the process. Turns out, setting the opacity just manually is enough. I could have also used the lasso tool to like fix up the edges, but the jankiness of the painting adds to it in my opinion. Especially for like a stupid challenge like this one. Anyway, if you have any suggestions, serious or stupid ones like this, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll see you next time.